G'day guys, my name is Marky, and welcome back to some more stories from Reddit. Now sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the Barbie, let's go. Posted by a throwaway account, titled, "Would I be the asshole if I don't tell my new girlfriend that I slept with her sister before we met?" So I have a new girlfriend, been together for 6 months. She recently went on vacation with her family, and when she got back, she showed some pictures they took, and I recognized her sister. See, her sister and I used to be friends with benefits back in college. It was nothing serious, and it didn't even last too long, like less than 3 months. This happened about 2 years ago. I didn't know that this was her sister because I never knew what her sister's last name was. Now, here's the part where I'm feeling a bit conflicted. See, she has a male friend who's made me a bit uncomfortable with how close he is to my girlfriend, and he's a bit of a boy toy. I tried to talk to my girlfriend about it and asked if she ever fooled around with him. It wasn't a deal breaker, but I still wanted to know, and she said, "The past is the past. I'm not going to tell you what I did before, and I don't want to know what you did before me." I'm feeling a bit conflicted because of this. I feel like I should tell her, because I'm sure the sister would tell her either way, but this may be the petty part of me talking. She said she doesn't want to know, and the past is the past, right? In the comments, Panachi19 says, "I know that you say that you don't want to know, but hypothetically, if I had hooked up with your sister in the past, would you still not want to know? If she wants the deets, then demand that she answers your question before you give them to her." OP replies, "Maybe, but I think my girlfriend would demand an answer as to why I'm asking this. I wouldn't ask in this way. You sleeping with her sister is not on par with her possibly having slept with a male friend. Just be upfront and say, I know you didn't want to talk about the past, but we've been together 6 months, and if we're hoping to continue, there's something important you need to know. Don't make your confession contingent on her telling you if she slept with that friend. That isn't to say that you shouldn't ask her about that friend. I think you absolutely should, and she needs to give an answer if this guy is someone she still hangs out with. The more pressing thing is for you to tell her about being with her sister before it can come out from anyone else. That is the info that seems more likely to implode your relationship." Yeah, I do think that the sleeping with a friend thing is understandable, and that you'd want to know that as well because that would be fair. But the friend is someone that she can easily just cut out of her life. That doesn't seem to be a problem. She's always going to be a part of her sister's life, whether she likes it or not. And unfortunately, OP, you sleeping with their partner is going to give them the ick, whether you like it or not. A lot of people are going to feel that way. A lot of people aren't going to be comfortable with being with someone who has slept with their sibling, because that's always going to be hanging over their heads whenever you are in the same room together with them. But it's also going to be hanging over her head whether you're there or not, you know? It's a little brain worm that you can't exactly get rid of. And I feel like it's a lot worse to come from anyone but you before you get a chance to explain yourself and the situation. So time is of the essence with this. So I think in a way, yes, you would be the asshole. And now, onto the update. Things did not go well when I tried to tell her. I asked her if she remembered what she told me about past sexual experiences, and she got mad at me. She said, "I already told you, the past doesn't matter." I tried to tell her that this was really important, and she said she told me that she promised herself she wasn't going to be with someone who's insecure about who she's slept with or her body count. She told me that I needed to grow up. I just blurted out, "I slept with your sister." After some silence, I explained everything and how this was before we met. She took it not that good. We had a long talk about how comfortable she would feel, what would happen when I met her family, what if her parents found out, what if the rest of the family did, could she really handle being at the altar with me in front of her and her sister next to her, knowing that me and her slept together. She told me she just felt gross now. She told me that she didn't know if she could shake this feeling off, so we decided to break up. I don't know, this was just a mess. In the comments, Auntie Meridium says, "The truth set you both free. You couldn't deal with the secret, and she couldn't deal with hearing it. Done deal, time to move on." And better that she heard it from him than her sister. Sorry, mate. That's the kind of feeling you can only really confront in the moment. Saying that sexual history doesn't matter and meaning it doesn't mean something paradigm shifting won't change your mind later. There are loads more women out there whose sisters you haven't slept with. Yet. Good for you for having this conversation with her. I doubt that you would have been comfortable with carrying this knowledge alone. Decision made for you. Wishing you the best going forward. Do you think she's ever going to say that sexual history doesn't matter again? Nah. She also needs to realize that there is a huge difference between what's your body count and have you ever stuffed the guy that calls you daily and is currently sitting next to you on the couch pointing out flaws that he sees in me? Oh shit. Who hurt you? Have I just walked into someone else's nightmare? Knowing that you can absolutely ask specifics, blanketing it all under a refusal to talk history probably means that she screwed your brother, father, and grandpa. All at the same time? It's funny because it's a minor detail in the post, but to me, the real story is the girlfriend hiding an obvious history with someone she still sees, seemingly regularly. Now, I'm not an insecure person talking about history like that, but you gotta be open about it. Girlfriend hiding that is a big red flag, and I think OP dodged a bullet. Hopefully he moves on to another woman, ideally one whose sister he hasn't also banged. Yeah, I kind of brushed over that one in my initial diagnosis of the situation because I feel like her hiding it is, yes, definitely a big red flag, and that's one you gotta watch out for in a relationship, but I think it pales in comparison to him having slept with her sister. It seemed as though her sleeping with that guy was something that OP was willing to forgive, but yeah, the sister thing, I don't know how many people are willing to forgive something like that so freely. It is for the best that everyone moved on, and no one else's dad, brother, or grandpa are getting banged. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP, even though this is something that Batman wouldn't be beating out of me. Our next post is by user uninvitedbrother32, titled, Am I the asshole for uninviting my adoptive brothers from my wedding after they said they don't see me as family? There's a new update. I'm a 32-year-old man, and I'm getting married to my longtime girlfriend soon. What should be one of the happiest moments of my life has turned into a heartbreaking ordeal because of a deepening rift in my family. To give you some background, I'm my parents' biological son, and when I was 12, they adopted 2 boys who were biological siblings, Jack who was 8 and Liam who was 5. From the very beginning, it was clear that things were going to be tough. Jack came with severe behavioral issues due to some intense trauma. I'll spare the details, but it was significant. I tried my hardest to be understanding, but living with him was nothing short of exhausting. His outbursts were constant, and I often felt like I was walking on eggshells, terrified of setting him off. As we grew older, I continued to try to be there for Jack despite everything. A few years ago, Jack fell into a devastating drug addiction. I stood by him through his darkest moments, supporting him through rehab, and doing everything I could to help him get back on his feet. It was draining and heartbreaking, but I did it because I loved him and believed that, despite our challenges, we were still brothers. The situation came to a head recently at a Sunday dinner at my parents' house. My son was working on his summer homework, which involved creating a family tree. He innocently asked Jack if he wanted to be included, and Jack just flat out said no. He didn't want to be a part of it because in his exact words, we're not real brothers. He said it so casually, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, with no regard for how much it would cut me to the core. I was utterly stunned, but what shattered me even more was that Liam, who I've always felt closer to, just sat there in silence. He didn't say a word, he didn't defend me or even acknowledge how hurtful Jack's words were, he just let it happen. I've tried so hard to be supportive of both of them, especially Jack, despite the endless challenges. So for Jack to say that, and for Liam to do nothing, felt like a gut punch. It was as if they were both telling me that I was never truly part of the family. I decided to uninvite both Jack and Liam from my wedding. My fiancé has been nothing but supportive of my decision, but my parents are furious. They've made it clear that if Jack and Liam aren't invited, they won't attend either. It feels like history is repeating itself, with my parents once again prioritizing Jack over me, no matter how much it hurts me. I'm absolutely heartbroken that my parents would choose to miss my wedding rather than support me in this. I know Jack has been through a lot, but I've done everything I can to be there for him and for Liam, despite all the heartache. And now I feel like I'm the one being punished for finally standing up for myself and setting some boundaries. Am I the asshole for uninviting my brothers after they said they don't see me as family, even if it means my parents won't come to my wedding? In the comments, SnowyBird60 says, "Not the asshole. Liam and Jack have been in your family for 20 years. If you all aren't family by now, what the hell are you? I have a major issue with your parents. They are definitely the assholes in all of this. The minute Jack said that to your son, they should have spoken up and defended you. The fact they let him get away with it and now are saying they won't attend your wedding is bullshit. I would tell them not to bother coming to your wedding and that you hope they'll be happy with their 2 sons. Then I would take my son and go full no contact with them." OP replies, "Honestly, I've considered going no contact with them in the past, but I've never had the guts to genuinely do it. I think my life would have been better off if I did it long ago." Not the asshole, but perhaps Liam said nothing because he knows how Jack thinks and reacts, and contradicting him or arguing would have only caused a scene in front of your son. Jack was the one who said this. I expect, given your description of Jack, that Liam also had a lifetime of managing his brother's moods and behavior, and he didn't want to be involved. Think again about inviting Liam. He hasn't done anything wrong here except refuse to contribute to a family argument. Maybe go for a drink together and talk, man to man. OP says, "Okay, yes, thank you for your comments. Honestly, I'm still extremely emotional by all of this, especially my parents. But I've always gotten on better with Liam, even though I do still feel like an outsider compared to them two, which is probably because they're biological brothers who have shared the trauma. I still feel really hurt by Liam not saying anything, but my main issue is with my parents and Jack. I'm going to talk to Liam later. Maybe Liam was hurt too. You didn't say something about him belonging to your family at the moment your brother said he wouldn't, right? So your brother implied Liam isn't your family, and you didn't say something against that. It's the same. You are feeling hurt towards Liam." OP replies, "No, I don't think that was it. The whole argument we had was about how dare Jack say those things after everything that I've done. Jack said something very hurtful, but your correction didn't seem to be that you felt differently, but rather that he should feel differently. Did you tell him that you feel like they're family? Maybe saying you consider them your brothers will help Jack feel less like he's right to say that, and feel it, though he may not actually feel that way, and be saying what he's saying because he feels like an interloper." Oh man, all these hypotheticals are getting to my head. I think that, going out for a beer, man to man with Liam, is a good way to kind of clear up the situation. And it does appear as though you haven't been saying that you feel like they're family, OP. Obviously, you've paraphrased when it comes to your interactions with these two, and it's possible that sometime during all of that you said, "I feel like you're family, you are family to me," in one form or another. But yeah, I do agree with these comments. I think give Liam a chance at least and try to fix things with him. For now, your parents and Jack seem like a lost cause. But I'm curious to see how this goes. I don't think you're an asshole right now for uninviting both of them, but I want to see what Liam has to say for himself as to whether I think you're an asshole for inviting him or not. And now, onto the updates. I'm honestly still reeling from everything that's gone down since my last post. First off, thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. I've read through all of your advice, and it's been a lifeline, but buckle up, because things have taken a wild turn. After hearing from so many of you, I decided that I needed to talk to Liam. We met up at a pub, and I just laid it all out there. How hurt I was when he didn't say anything after Jack made that awful comment about not being real brothers. I was half expecting him to defend himself, but what I got was something entirely different. Liam confessed that he's been living in fear of Jack for years. He told me he kept quiet that night because he was terrified of setting Jack off, not because he agreed with him. Then he dropped a bombshell. Despite being Jack's biological brother, he's felt just as much of an outsider in our family as I have. The constant pressure from our parents to cater to Jack's every whim has worn him down too. Liam assured me that he's always seen me as his brother and that he regrets not standing up for me sooner. Hearing that was a huge relief. He's completely on my side now, and we agreed that if Jack can't respect me as a brother, he has no place at my wedding or in our lives. But just when I thought this couldn't get more intense, my parents decided to make everything worse. I sat them down and explained exactly why I uninvited Jack, hoping they would understand. Instead, they threw down an ultimatum. If Jack isn't invited, they are not coming to my wedding. No room for discussion, no empathy, just flat-out refusal. I was gutted. After all these years of putting Jack's needs above mine, this is how they repay me? I couldn't hold back anymore. I let out all the anger and frustration that I've been bottling up for years. I told them how I've always been the one sacrificing, how they've always prioritized Jack, and that I was done being treated like I don't matter. I made it clear that if they choose not to come to my wedding, they are making their choice, and I'll make mine. With that, I walked out, leaving them to stew in their own decisions. Out of nowhere, Jack started bombarding me with the nastiest, most hurtful texts that I've ever received. He accused me of turning Liam against him, of ripping the family apart, and had the audacity to call me selfish for abandoning him. He ranted about how he never felt like he belonged in the family, and how it's all my fault for pushing him away. His words hit hard, but they also opened my eyes. Jack has spent his whole life blaming everyone else for his problems, and I've been his favorite scapegoat. This time, though, I'm not letting him guilt-trip me. I didn't even respond. I just blocked his number. If he can't see what he's done wrong, then there's nothing more to say. Liam was livid when I told him about Jack's messages. He was more determined than ever to support me, and we've decided to go low contact with our parents until after the wedding. Liam's been a rock through all this, helping me with the wedding plans, and making sure that I'm not dealing with this mess alone. So, the wedding is still happening, but with a much smaller guest list. My parents haven't reached out since our argument, and at this point, I don't care if they show up or not. This day is about me and my fiancé, and I'm not letting anyone, not even my own family, ruin it. Thank you again for all of your support and advice. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens, though I'm really hoping my next update is just about how amazing the wedding was. Fingers crossed. Update 2. Hey everyone, I wanted to give an update after everything that's happened over the last week. A lot has changed, and I'm grateful to say that things are moving in a much better direction. 2 days after the text argument with Jack, he reached out to me. I wasn't sure what to expect when he asked if we could meet up, and I was reluctant, but I agreed. When we sat down, the first thing he did was apologize. He told me how sorry he was for what he said to my son, and admitted that he didn't know why he said it. Jack seemed genuinely remorseful, and I could tell that he really meant it. This wasn't just another apology to smooth things over. This was different, and it felt sincere. After apologizing, Jack took a deep breath and confessed something that I probably should have seen coming. He told me that he had relapsed before the argument even happened. Hearing that hit me hard. I explained so much about his behavior in the weeks leading up to that moment, the irritability, the distance, the way he was withdrawing from everyone. I realized that I had missed all the signs. I'm not proud to admit it, but I was so caught up in my frustrations with Jack's behavior in my wedding that I didn't stop to think that something deeper might be going on. Jack's confession wasn't just about the relapse. It was about taking responsibility in a way that he's never done before. He went on to tell me that after realizing the damage he'd caused, he had made the decision to check himself into treatment. This might sound like a typical step, but for Jack, it was monumental. In the past, Jack's only gone into treatment because he was either sectioned by social services and forced into it, or because my parents threatened to kick him out if he didn't get help. But this time, he made the decision on his own. That was something that he'd never done before, and it showed me that he was serious about wanting to change. He told me that he'd been doing this because the prospect of losing me, his brother, was too much and he couldn't handle it. He wants to take this seriously because he wants to show me that he can do it. He told me he sees me as his family, and he feels so guilty for making me feel like I wasn't his family. Jack has also agreed to start taking medication to help calm his nerves, something he would never do before. It's now been about 5 or 6 days since Jack checked himself in for treatment, and I've been visiting him regularly. At first I went alone, because I wasn't sure how my son would feel about seeing Jack so soon after everything that happened. But after a few visits, I felt it was important for my son to see that Jack was making an effort to make things right. So I brought him along, and Jack took the opportunity to apologize to him directly. It was a really emotional moment for me as a parent. My son is still young and doesn't fully understand everything that's been going on, but he could see that Jack was sorry, and that seemed to make a difference to him. They even spent some time together, just talking and playing, and it felt like a big step forward for all of us. Throughout all of this, my brother Liam has been incredibly supportive. We've talked a lot about Jack, and it's clear that Liam wants to see him succeed just as much as I do. We both know how much Jack's trauma has affected him, and while it doesn't excuse his behavior, it does help us understand why he's struggled so much. Having Liam by my side throughout all of this has made me feel a lot less alone. Reflecting on everything, I've come to realize that I need to take responsibility for my part in how things escalated. In the weeks leading up to the argument, Jack had been doing things that really got under my skin. Instead of addressing it calmly, I let my frustration build until I finally snapped. Looking back, I can see that this behavior was likely tied to his relapse, and I should have seen that sooner. I felt guilty for not recognizing the signs and for reacting the way that I did, but I'm trying to focus on what I can do to support Jack now that he's taking his recovery seriously. When I wrote my first 2 posts, I was in a place of deep frustration with Jack, and though nothing I said was incorrect or a lie, I definitely painted a picture of Jack's most negative moments without everything else. I want to remind everyone about Jack's trauma. Jack was a victim of severe abuse by his biological family, including extensive CSA. Liam also, but Jack's was a lot more intense. Jack jokes now that he was their biological father's favorite in all the wrong ways. Jack got into drugs at a pretty young age, but has been clean, or so I thought, for a while. I mentioned this before, but Jack has told me in the past that even now, almost 20 years after he was adopted by our parents, there is not a day where he doesn't think or have nightmares about his abuse. He says the only moments of peace he gets are when he is high. Jack's trauma runs deep, and it's something that continues to affect him every day. I'm not making excuses for his actions, but I do think it's important to remember that he's dealing with a lot of pain. Despite everything, I still believe in Jack. I believe that he has the strength to overcome his past, and with Liam and me by his side, I'm hopeful that he can get through this. I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who offered advice and support on my last post. Your words helped me see things from a different perspective and gave me the push that I needed to approach the situation with more compassion. There's still a long road ahead, but I'm optimistic that we're on the right path now. For now, things are looking up, Jack is taking his treatment seriously, and our family is slowly healing. We're taking things one day at a time, and I'm committed to supporting Jack as long as he's committed to helping himself. Thank you all again for your support. Your advice has been invaluable during this difficult time. Some of you may call me weak or naive for thinking this time will be different, but I'm prepared to take that risk one more time for Jack, as he's shown me over the last week that he is genuinely wanting treatment, and he wants to be better. Jack's told me that he wants to earn back his invite, but not to give it to him yet. He said that he will prove that he deserves it, and I really hope so. In the comments, PC Norda says, I'm glad that Jack is trying to get himself fixed and that, for now, things are better and getting even better for them. His parents, though, OP's parents seem like the kind of people who will help put out a fire by throwing gasoline on it. OP would do well to keep them at a comfortable distance. OP stated that his parents would sometimes threaten to kick Jack out if he didn't get help, so they weren't just mindlessly reinforcing his drug addiction. That said, it looks like their tough love only applied to Jack's drug addiction. Outside of that, he was the golden child who could do no wrong. I want to apologize myself for not thinking that there might be underlying issues here. Everyone's trauma is different, and sometimes we all forget that. I'm glad that Jack is getting help and is willing to take medication as well. Perhaps you might think about counseling for yourself and your son, just so that you both have some good support outside of the family. I'm curious as to what your parents have said about this. What are their opinions? Please keep us updated. OP says, yeah, some therapy would probably be useful. I haven't had it for a long time now. My parents are still being my parents. I've come to realize that every time they get involved in my relationships, they just make things worse. But at least things aren't worse than they were before, and they apologize to me for saying they wouldn't come to my wedding. I think you underestimate the toll that your parents' attitude has had on you. You are here basically apologizing for not being super sensitive to Jack's moods and behaviors. You are not his keeper, and his emotional state should not be anywhere near the top of your list of priorities. Your son and partner should have always come before him or your parents, and in addition, you are planning a wedding. Blaming yourself for having missed some cues about a 28-year-old's relapse is unreasonable. Your extreme disappointment in your parents was more than justified, and now you seem to be sliding right back into Jack is more important mode. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!